It was a hot afternoon, the sun mercilessly burning the cracked asphalt of that deserted road. Antonio, a 56-year-old man, pulled his 1979 green and yellow truck to the side. The engine, his old companion through countless journeys, had finally given up. He stepped out, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and held his head in despair. What now, God? What am I going to do out here all alone? There was no cell signal, not a single car passed by. The silence was broken only by the wind carrying dust and the distant cry of a crow. Antonio felt the heavy weight of loneliness, but even heavier were the debts, the arguments at home, and his failing health. It wasn't just the truck that had stopped. His life felt stuck too. Hours dragged on, and he was already thinking of giving up on everything. Suddenly he saw a silhouette walking along the road. A simple man wearing a worn-out suit, carrying a Bible under his arm. Antonio was surprised. A pastor, here in the middle of nowhere? The man approached, smiled, and said, "Peace of the Lord, my brother. May I sit with you for a while?" Confused, Antonio nodded. They sat in the shade of the truck, and the pastor began to speak. He didn't ask about the mechanical problem, but went straight to Antonio's heart. "I don't know what you're going through, but God sent me here to tell you something. You are not alone. This desert is not the end of your road. The Lord still has plans for you." Antonio felt a lump in his throat. How could this man know the emptiness he carried, Pastor? I was thinking of giving up. On life, on work, on everything, The pastor placed a hand on his shoulder and, with a firm voice, declared, "The enemy wants you to believe it's over, but Jesus is here to lift you up. Today is not the end, it's a new beginning." At that moment, Antonio wept like he hadn't in years. Right there, beside the broken-down truck, he prayed a prayer of surrender. He felt an indescribable peace fill his heart, and as if it were a divine sign, minutes later a car stopped further down the road. A mechanic from the neighboring town, returning from a trip, offered his help. Within minutes, the truck was running again. Antonio turned to look for the pastor, but he was gone, vanished on the road, as if he had been sent only for that mission. That day, Antonio understood. It wasn't just the truck that started running again. His life had also found a new direction. Antonio climbed back into the driver's seat, his hands trembling on the steering wheel. The truck's engine rumbled back to life, but his mind was far from calm. He kept replaying everything in his head, every word the pastor had spoken, the way he had appeared out of nowhere, and the mysterious way he had disappeared just as suddenly. The road stretched endlessly before him, but Antonio couldn't shake the feeling that something greater had just happened. Who was that man? Was he really just a pastor? Or had God sent an angel in disguise? As he drove, the air felt heavier, the silence deeper. Every sound of the engine echoed like a heartbeat. Antonio glanced in his rearview mirror more than once, half expecting to see the pastor walking behind him. But the road was empty. Then something strange caught his attention. The Bible, the one the pastor had carried under his arm, was now lying on the passenger seat. Antonio froze. He hadn't seen the pastor leave it there. Carefully, with trembling hands, he picked it up. The cover was old, worn by time, but inside, on the very first page, there was a handwritten note. It read, "Colin ... quotes, the road you travel tonight is not just of asphalt and stone, but of destiny. Do not be afraid. The Lord himself is guiding you. Keep driving. The answer you seek is ahead." Antonio's single quote's heart raced. His eyes darted to the dark horizon. What did that mean? What answer? He pressed the accelerator, unsure if he was running away from fear, or running towards something he couldn't yet understand. The night was falling fast, shadows stretching across the desert road. The headlights of the truck carved a narrow path of light through the darkness. Antonio felt both fear and expectation rise within him. Something was waiting ahead. He just didn't know what. Want to know how this whole story unfolds? Stay tuned for our next video here on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like.